Coming up on Mountain News this morning, President Donald Trump is back in office and already sending out executive orders. And even though most celebrations in eastern Kentucky were canceled, folks throughout the state showed their support to a civil rights icon.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning, Mountain family. Happy Tuesday. My name's Amelia Lee. It is almost 5 o'clock on this January 21st. It's also time to check in with meteorologist Megan Dusmall for a look at your forecast this morning. Megan, it was cold, and I have first-hand experience going out in shorts this morning because I forgot, apparently, about this cold weather.
Yeah, you would not have catch me in shorts this morning. It was definitely a colder day. I spent about 10 minutes in my car as it heated up this morning and had to scrape off some frost, as you might have to do as well this morning. And we are still under a cold weather advisory. This is a new one that was sent out and started this morning at 2, and it's going to continue until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So we'll have that for an extended period of time, and that's about the time that we'll still be under that first alert weather day. So be prepared as we're going through today and tomorrow for those cold weather. Now, here are those current temperatures here in eastern Kentucky. We are looking in the single digits for most of the area. In fact, we are so cold that we are colder than the temperatures in Anchorage, Alaska. They're at 29 degrees right now, and we're sitting pretty at 9 degrees in Hazard. So don't believe me, there is even more proof that it's abnormally cold here. Here are the forecast highs for this afternoon. We're looking in the teens and low 20s, but those feels like temperature will be even colder as we have the wind picking up as we head into the afternoon hours. Amelia.
All right, Megan, thank you. Well, today is President Donald Trump's first full day back in office, but he got to work right after yesterday's inauguration. He's only the second president in U.S. history to serve non-consecutive terms. That appears to have prepared him for a rapid start. Amy Kiley reports he already has signed dozens of executive orders and pardoned hundreds of people.
Does Biden ever do news conferences like this?
President Donald Trump is wasting no time reshaping the country, taking dozens of actions yesterday.
We're going to release our great hostages that didn't do, for the most part, they didn't do stuff wrong.
Nearly all cases related to the January 6th Capitol riot are over. That's after Trump pardoned more than 1,200 people convicted of related crimes. He's also directing the Justice Department to drop about 300 pending cases. And he's freeing 14 defendants charged with the most serious sedition offenses.
It tries to whitewash what was clearly an insurrection. People died from that. Property was destroyed. People were injured.
Also sending out shockwaves today are Trump's first executive orders.
I'll revoke nearly 80 destructive and radical executive actions of the previous administration.
He's declaring a national emergency at the southern border and effectively shutting down asylum seeking there. He's trying to delay a TikTok ban and limit the constitutional right to citizenship at birth. Trump also is removing the U.S. from the Paris Climate Agreement and the World Health Organization.
He walked in the White House and he did exactly what he said he was going to do.
His first actions as president haven't done what he promised voters he would do. Hasn't made people's lives easier.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Experts say some of Trump's moves are likely to face legal challenges. The U.S. Constitution dictates that people born in the U.S. are citizens. While Kentuckians largely voted to elect President Donald Trump, experts say the Commonwealth is among the states that would feel the largest negative impacts from Trump's proposed tariffs. President Trump also vowed to end what he calls the EV mandate, another move that could harm Kentucky's economy. Samantha Valentino sits down with a political expert to learn what a second Trump presidency could mean for the Commonwealth.
According to an analysis from the Tax Policy Center, Kentucky could be among the states most impacted by President Trump's proposed tariffs. It says at the national level, imports totaled about 11% of U.S. gross domestic product in 2023. When you look at individual states, imports as a share of GDP range from 2% in South Dakota to 27% here in Kentucky.
Every indication I've seen is that if the Trump administration engages in the blanket tariffs that we are at least reading about, that we are likely to get another bourbon tariff.
Governor Andy Beshear urged President Trump against issuing tariffs, which could hurt the bourbon industry. He says tariffs put out by the first Trump administration resulted in a bourbon tariff, which left millions of dollars of impact on exports.
And that will be incredibly detrimental to our Kentucky economy. It will impact Kentucky in a way that it will impact no other state.
Dr. Stephen Voss is a specialist in American politics at UK. He says Beshear raises valid concerns regarding the potential impacts of tariffs.
Kentucky relies a lot on exports, so Kentuckians should have some concern that the Trump administration might get embroiled in trade wars that could affect those critical export industries.
President Trump says he plans to pull the plug on what he calls the EV mandate. Experts say his proposed changes could derail the trajectory of electric vehicle sales in the U.S. Here in Kentucky, the emerging EV sector has largely contributed to record economic growth. But Dr. Voss says it's unlikely any of these changes will have an overnight impact.
Slowness on the part of the Trump administration is not necessarily a bad thing. Slower change gives industries, gives workers, gives people more time to adapt and to grow into what they need to be under the new sets of policies.
In Lexington, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.
President Trump also promised to make major changes to the country's immigration policies and to launch the largest deportation effort in American history. Vice President J.D. Vance was sworn in using a family Bible that belonged to his maternal great-grandmother from eastern Kentucky. His family roots go back to Breathitt County. His grandma, Bonnie, presented the Bible to him in 2003 as he left home for the Marine Corps. Yesterday was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. While some events in our region honoring the civil rights leader were canceled due to weather, hundreds of folks braved the cold to march in Lexington. Organizers say this is one of the longest-running MLK observances in the nation. Marchers say everyone needs to do their part to continue Dr. King's legacy.
We don't want to forget the struggles that people of color, minorities had gone through decades and decades in this country. We talk about inequalities. We talk about systemic issues. So to me, that's what that work still to be done has to do with.
Yesterday's events kicked off with breakfast, followed by a march in downtown Lexington in the afternoon. Well, thank you for getting your day started with us here on Mountain News this morning. When we return, officials say it's important for Kentuckians to maintain their health as we battle this bitter cold.
And snow is back in the forecast today. When can you expect it? I'll have that answer coming up.